On their 5th wedding anniversary, Marcus, who was always punctual, was 18 hours late. Seeing and Lily on the verge of collapsing from hunger, Marcus, feeling terrible for them, pulled out a toy car and a diamond necklace. "I'm so sorry, so sorry. I was delayed buying gifts for you." Back home, Grace threw the necklace and toy car in front of him, demanding, "You spent $1 million on these? An old necklace engraved with someone else's name and a broken toy car for a boy. Is this how you're fobbing off your wife and daughter?" Marcus smoked, his voice calm. "She's younger, prettier, and more understanding than you, and she gave me a son. My vast family enterprise, after all, needs a son to inherit it. She's made sacrifices by being with me, so I can only compensate her with money. But rest assured, they will never affect your or Lily's position." Listening to his absurd words, Grace decisively applied for immigration for herself and Lily. "Mom, did you get through to Daddy?" Grace forced a smile and said, "No, your father might be busy with work." Grace checked the time. They had been waiting for Marcus for a full 18 hours. From 8 in the morning until 2 in the next morning. The anniversary had long passed. "Maybe we should go home, Lily." Lily shook her head firmly. "I haven't seen Daddy for almost half a year. I'm going to wait for him." Grace, suppressing a pang of sadness, dialed Marcus's number for the 100th time. A figure rushed towards them. It was Marcus. "Sorry, I was delayed buying gifts for you." Grace recalled the $1 million transaction record she received at noon, which slightly appeased her. She looked at the bag he was carrying, curious what gift could cost $1 million and take 18 hours to buy. When he pulled out the diamond necklace and toy car from the bag, Grace was stunned. On the way home, no matter what he said, Grace remained silent. After carrying a sleeping Lily back to her room, Grace walked to the living room. "Grace, who are you giving that look for? Am I wrong for buying you gifts?" Marcus sat on the sofa, legs crossed, looking at Grace with a displeased expression. Grace laughed, enraged, and flung the necklace and toy car in front of him. "What kind of gifts are these? An old necklace with someone else's name engraved on it, and a boy's toy car with a broken tail fin. Is this how you fob us off? Who is Amber, whose name is engraved on the necklace?" Marcus's expression subtly changed, and he said stiffly, "Just a store clerk. She recommended it when I bought the necklace, and she might have accidentally engraved her own name. I didn't notice the mistake." "A mistake?" Grace let out a cold laugh, full of mockery. "Marcus, you're still lying. Who is that person? Do you really think I can't find out?" Marcus's brow furrowed, and he irritably stood up, pacing back and forth in the living room. "Since things are already like this, why do you keep dwelling on it? She's younger, prettier, and more understanding than you. Most importantly, she gave me a son. Eleanor has been so desperate to have a grandson that she's become depressed. Besides, my vast family enterprise needs a son to inherit it. I can't give her legitimate status, so it's only reasonable to compensate her with money, especially since she's made sacrifices by being with me." "She's made sacrifices?" Tears welled in Grace's eyes, and her voice trembled with anger. "What about me? Lily and I waited 18 hours for you, starving, just to share a meal. What were you doing? You were busy lavishly spending $1 million on someone else." Marcus stopped, his brows deeply furrowed, appearing impatient with Grace's questioning. $1 million? $1 million? When did you become so materialistic? If you could have given me a son, I would have given you $1 million too. But could you?" Grace looked at him in disbelief, stepping forward to take his hand and guide it to the scars on her abdomen. He recoiled as if he'd seen a monster. Grace couldn't help but sneer. "No, I can't." "Don't you know why?" Grace remembered it was their 3rd year of marriage, when Marcus and Grace were in a car accident. Grace was pierced in the abdomen by an iron rod while saving him, losing their 9-month-old child and her uterus. To comfort Grace, Marcus had said that having Lily was enough for him in this lifetime. But now, before could recover, Marcus's phone suddenly rang. He immediately turned his back to answer, his voice hushed. "Hello? What? Leo has a fever? How high? Don't worry, I'll be right there." He hung up and immediately headed for the door. "The company system crashed, I have to go. I won't be back tonight." He spoke quickly, his tone ordinary, devoid of any guilt. Grace looked at him, her throat tight, unable to speak. He frowned and said, "Don't look at me like that. Don't worry. They'll never affect your or Lily's position." The door slammed shut. The house was dead silent. Mom, I don't feel well. Lily had come downstairs at some point, her little face crumpled. Grace quickly got up and picked her up. Lily's forehead was burning, like a small furnace. Her little face grew even paler from discomfort, and her lips trembled slightly. Unable to find a taxi in the middle of the night, Grace frantically called Marcus. His impatient voice quickly came through the phone. What now? I'm busy here. Lily is sick, her fever won't break, and I can't get a taxi. Can you come back and take us to the hospital? Grace suppressed her anger, trying to keep her tone calm. There was a moment of silence on the other end, then he said coldly, I can't leave right now, you'll have to figure something out yourself. Besides, it's just a fever, just bundle them up, they'll be fine. Why go to the hospital? Grace had no choice but to ride a rented bike, taking Lily, and anxiously rushed to the hospital. Your child has scarlet fever. Doctor, is it serious? Grace's voice trembled, almost inaudible. Lily's burning little face rested weakly against Grace's neck. Scarlet fever is highly contagious and particularly dangerous for children. The situation is urgent. The child is young, has a persistent high fever, and symptoms of pharyngitis. She needs to be vaccinated immediately. The doctor's tone was grave as she scribbled rapidly on the medical chart. Fortunately, our hospital has one last vaccine left. Go pay the deposit and get her admitted, and we'll administer the shot immediately. The nurse quickly lifted Lily onto the gurney and sent her to the isolation unit. Grace frantically went to the payment counter and pulled out the joint bank account debit card she shared with Marcus, their primary card for household expenses. I'm sorry, this card can't be processed. How is that possible? There are several $100,000 in it, why can't it be processed? Grace was burning with anxiety, thinking it was a system error. Madam, the system shows this card has been frozen. Take a look. The cashier turned the screen toward Grace. On the screen, the words frozen and blocked from use stung Grace's eyes. Frozen? Marcus. He had frozen their joint account while Grace was rushing Lily to the hospital in the middle of the night. Grace suppressed her furious rage, digging her hands into the counter to keep herself from collapsing. Her nails almost broke, and the pain jolted her awake for a moment. There was another card. Grace's hands trembled as she pulled out another spare card from her wallet, with a balance of $100,000, an inheritance her brother had left her. Use this one. Grace shoved the card over, her voice terribly hoarse. The doctor was about to give Lily the injection. No. It was Marcus. He was with a woman and a boy. Presumably, she was Amber, the name engraved on the necklace. No wonder Grace found the name so familiar, seeing her brought back the memory. She was the girlfriend who had caused Gr. Ace's brother's death. The doctors and nurses were startled by their sudden intrusion. Marcus didn't even glance at Grace or Lily. His eyes were fixed on the syringe in the doctor's hand. Stop. Doctor. That vaccine. Give it to me. He said forcefully, quick. Give it to my son first. Give it to me now. He reached out to snatch the syringe. Marcus. Are you crazy? Grace lunged with all her might, blocking Lily's bed and forcefully knocking away his outstretched hand. This is Lily's. It's to save her life. She's your daughter. Slap. A loud slap landed heavily on Grace's face. Get lost. What do you know? Leo is younger than Lily. What's wrong with an older sister being understanding with her younger brother? Grace looked at the little boy. His energy was far better than Lily's, who was practically unconscious. Marcus's eyes were bloodshot, glaring at Grace as if she were the murderer of his son. Doctor. Give me the medicine. Now. He no longer looked at Grace, snarling at the doctor. Sir. Please calm down. The doctor's voice held an uncontrollable tremor. I've examined the little boy's symptoms. They are indeed not as critical as this little girl's. Her heart rate and breathing are elevated. She's the one who truly needs immediate medication. There's another hospital 20 kilometers away, a private, high-end one. The doctor spoke rapidly, trying to calm Marcus with a more practical alternative. That facility has better equipment. If it's urgent, taking him there now, and I'll contact them immediately to prepare, would be much smarter than wasting time here. Your son's condition is nowhere near critical enough to snatch this vaccine. Marcus wasn't listening to a word. He suddenly reached out again, grabbing directly at the doctor's arm that held the syringe. He violently smashed the syringe onto the floor. If my son can't have it, then no one will. Crash, the syringe shattered. The nurses froze in place, still holding alcohol swabs, their wide eyes filled with horror. Beep. The green line on the medical monitor suddenly went flat. Lily. Quick. Oxygen mask. Epinephrine shot. Prepare adrenaline. Hurry. Marcus was held down tightly by the security guards, still panting, muttering softly, "Gone. Good. All gone." But when the piercing medical monitor alarm blared, and he saw the resuscitation efforts by Lily's bed, his eyes showed a dazed and hollow look that he himself didn't even notice. Cough. Ugh. An extremely faint cough, accompanied by the heart rate resuming on the monitor. There's a heartbeat. Maintain it. Maintain oxygenation. The doctor's urgent voices were tinged with immense pressure. Lily was finally pulled back from the brink of death, if only temporarily. But she was still unconscious. Just then, a young nurse finally burst out. She shouted angrily at Marcus, who was held down by security, "It's all you. You lunatic. You almost killed your daughter." Marcus seemed to be momentarily startled by the nurse's voice. He looked at Lily's lifeless face. His lips moved a few times, as if he wanted to say something, but it ultimately turned into an enraged roar, "You're incompetent. Even if you can't save her, it's her bad luck. What does that have to do with me? Let go of me. My son is sick too. I'm taking him to a private hospital. Nothing must happen to him." He turned his gaze to Amber and Leo. "Let's go, Amber. We're leaving now. I'm taking Leo to the best hospital. Right now." The ward door slammed shut behind them. The resuscitation behind the isolation curtain continued. The hospital urgently transferred a vaccine from another hospital, and Lily was finally saved from the brink of death. Grace looked at Lily's pale face. She immediately called her assistant. "Expedite the immigration process. The sooner, the better." During's week in the hospital, Marcus didn't even call once. As brought Lily home and stepped through the door, Marcus handed Grace a BMW key. "Your gift." He pointed to the Steinway grand piano in the living room. Lily's gift. Grace couldn't understand his intentions now. Was it an attempt to appease her, remorse, or guilt towards her and Lily? Grace responded indifferently and was about to go upstairs when he reached out and stopped her. "Don't be angry. But you also know it wasn't easy for Eleanor to raise me alone. Her only wish was to have a grandson. For the past 2 years, she's been so desperate for a grandson that she became depressed, which is why I sought out Amber." Grace pulled her hand away from his. He stumbled as Grace pulled away, a flicker of awkwardness crossing his face, but he persisted, unwilling to give up. "I know I went too far this time, but I had no choice. I bought you and Lily such expensive gifts to make amends. From now on, I'll try to balance things between the two sides and won't let you be wronged again." Grace said indifferently, "Whatever you want." Seeing him still following her, Grace looked at him with a puzzled expression. "Honey, Amber is pregnant again. So I want to bring them here." Marcus seemed surprised by Grace's calmness. He took a step forward, trying to read Grace's expression, searching for a hint of anger or sadness on her face. Don't you have anything to say?" he asked incredulously, seemingly unable to accept Grace's indifferent reaction. Grace looked at him, her eyes filled with weariness. "What would I say? Congratulations on becoming a father again?" Marcus was choked by Grace's words. He opened his mouth but didn't know how to respond. As soon as Grace returned to the room, Lily asked her, "Mommy, are you and Daddy getting a divorce?" Grace knelt down, trying hard to force a smile. Grace gently patted Lily's back, comforting her, "Honey, don't be scared. Even if Daddy isn't around later, Mommy will give you all her love. We're going to live in a new place soon. You can spend more time with your father these next few days." After comforting Lily, Grace took the divorce papers and handed them to Marcus. He was busy on a video call with Amber and didn't even notice what Grace was handing him before he signed it. Grace quickly took the divorce papers to the law firm, handing them to a lawyer to handle the subsequent procedures. When returned home, she heard Lily crying and rushed inside. She saw Amber's son pulling Lily's hair and trying to ride her like a horse. Grace pulled him away, tightly shielding Lily behind her. Lily's face was streaked with tears, her eyes filled with fear and a sense of injustice. The little boy was startled by Grace's sudden action. After a few seconds of stunned silence, he started crying loudly, "You hurt me. I'm telling my mom." Just then, Amber slowly emerged from a corner of the living room, her face bearing an unconcerned expression. "Grace, why are you so angry? Your temper is still exactly the same." The children are just playing, don't make such a fuss. Playing? Grace trembled with rage. Look how Lily has been bullied. At that moment, Marcus also quickly walked in from outside. Seeing the chaotic scene, his face darkened. Lily, didn't I tell you, you're older than your younger brother, you should be understanding with him. Apologize to your brother. Lily, hearing Marcus's words, said with a sob, Daddy, I was being understanding with my younger brother, but he pulled my hair. It really hurt. Lily raised her tear-streaked face, her eyes filled with disappointment and a sense of injustice towards Marcus. Marcus looked at Lily's pitiful appearance, and his heart seemed to waver for a moment, but Amber immediately leaned in, holding the little boy, coaxing him with a face full of concern. Don't cry, baby, don't cry, Mommy's here. It's all that older sister's fault, she hurt our Leo. After saying that, she gave Grace a provocative glance. Marcus frowned and said to Grace, Grace, look at you, what have you taught Lily? Leo is young and doesn't know any better, as his older sister can. You be more sensible, Lily? Grace didn't want to waste any more words on him. She took Lily and walked out the door. Driver, to the airport. Lily sobbed in Grace's arms, her small body trembling slightly, and she said tearfully, Mommy, I don't want Daddy anymore. He only loves my younger brother, he doesn't love me. Grace responded, It's okay. We don't need him anymore. Mommy will get you a daddy who truly cares for you. Just then, the lawyer's phone rang. Ms. Grace, your immigration procedures have been completed. However, there's a slight issue with the divorce papers. Grace's heart clenched. She quickly asked, What's the problem? Lawyer, please explain in detail. The lawyer's voice on the other end of the line conveyed helplessness. Ms. Grace, City Hall says you and Marcus were divorced half a year ago. And he just got married to someone else last month. Hearing this, Grace almost dropped her phone. Grace remembered that half a year ago, he had suddenly said he wanted to design a unique signature style for them and asked her to sign a blank piece of paper. Grace sent Marcus a message, happy. The plane slowly took off, and Grace's phone rang incessantly. It was Marcus calling. Grace immediately hung up. Soon after, he sent several messages. The weather forecast calls for heavy rain today. Stop messing around. Bring back now. Where are you? I'll come pick you up. I can explain this. Just come back first. Grace didn't reply, blocking all his contact methods. It was soon 10 o'clock at night, and Grace still hadn't brought Lily back. Marcus suppressed his growing unease. He went to his study, took out his phone, and saw Grace's unreturned messages. He persistently dialed Grace's number again, but all he heard was that the user you dialed is switched off message. He irritably threw his phone aside and paced back and forth in the study. Recalling everything that happened today, he felt even more uneasy. He tried to reassure himself, thinking the Grace was just temporarily angry and would bring Lily back soon. After all, for so many years, Grace had silently endured his actions and had never truly left him. But this time, a voice inside him kept reminding him that things seemed different. He remembered Grace's resolute gaze today, a coldness and determination he had never seen before. Aunt's face, filled with a sense of injustice and disappointment, also stung his heart. As the night grew deeper, Marcus was wide awake. He didn't know how much time had passed, but he stood up, deciding to go look for Grace and Lily. Marcus, where are you going? Amber appeared at the study door at some point. She was wearing a light nightgown, her eyes showing a hint of doubt and unease. Marcus irritably glanced at her and said curtly, I have something to do outside. Don't interfere. Amber's brow suddenly furrowed, and a flicker of displeasure crossed her face, but she still feigned tenderness and said, It's so late, and it's not safe outside. Whatever it is, can't it wait until tomorrow? Look, Leo needs his daddy too. Marcus was agitated and roared at Amber, Leo. Leo. It's always Leo. He needs a father, but doesn't Lily? If it weren't for you and him, Grace and Lily wouldn't have left. Amber was startled by his sudden outburst of anger, and a hint of injustice flashed in her eyes. What about me? I bore you a son, and I've devoted myself to you all these years. How have I wronged you? Grace is just narrow-minded and couldn't tolerate us. Marcus was in no mood to argue with her now. He shoved Amber aside and headed straight for the door. Amber stomped her foot in anger behind him, muttering through gritted teeth, Marcus, you'll regret this. He went to the parks and malls Grace and Lily used to frequent, but he couldn't find any trace of them. Meanwhile, Grace and Lily had settled down at her parents' place. As for Marcus, he returned home exhausted after searching all night in the rain. Pushing open the door, he saw Amber sitting on the sofa, looking at him with a triumphant expression. He was physically and mentally drained, too tired to bother with Amber, and walked straight to his study. Seeing this, Amber got up and followed him. Marcus, don't look anymore, they won't come back. Grace is a heartless woman, she just abandoned you and left. Unlike her, I'll always stay by your side. As spoke, she reached out to grab Marcus. Marcus disgustedly shook off her hand. Shut up. If hadn't threatened to take her own life, do you think I'd be with you? A cruel glint flashed in Amber's eyes. Marcus, don't be ungrateful. Without me, would you have a son? Without me, Eleanor would have killed herself long ago. Do you think Grace will ever forgive you? Dream on. Marcus was choked by Amber's words. Anger and regret intertwined in his heart, but he had no way to refute her. After a long time in thought, Marcus bought a plane ticket to Canada. He knew Grace's parents were in Canada, but he had never accompanied her back before. He held a glimmer of hope, thinking that if he could just explain things to Grace in person, there might still be a chance to win her back. On the plane, he rehearsed his first words to Grace over and over again. After getting off the plane, he inquired and searched around the unfamiliar city, based on the vague address Grace had mentioned to him. However, the city was too vast, finding Grace and Lily was far from easy. He searched there for an entire year, still without any news of Grace and Lily. Just as he was about to despair, by chance, he saw them outside a mall. He saw a familiar figure, Lily. Lily had grown taller and was holding the hand of a stranger, her face beaming with a happy smile. The man gently bent down, saying something to Lily, who responded with a happy laugh. Marcus tried to approach, but Lily immediately hid behind the man, clinging tightly to his clothes. The man noticed Lily's unusual reaction and followed her gaze, seeing Marcus. He froze. Ned, shielding Lily behind him, and watched Marcus warily. Marcus's lips trembled as he spoke with difficulty. Lily, I'm your daddy. Lily just hid behind the man, whispering, Daddy, you're my only daddy, he's not my daddy. Hearing call another man daddy, Marcus's heart felt as if 1,000 needles were piercing it simultaneously. The pain made him almost unable to stand. A flicker of pain and confusion crossed his eyes. He instinctively looked at the man, his voice tinged with a plea. I truly am Lily's biological father. I just want to talk to her. Ethan. Grace saw Ethan and Lily talking to a man whose back seemed somewhat familiar. Ethan heard Grace's voice, turned to look at her, his eyes full of tenderness, and waved her over. Marcus also turned his head, following Ethan's gaze. The moment their eyes met, shock flashed in his eyes. So you're Grace's ex-husband, Marcus. Let me introduce myself, I'm Ethan, Grace's first love, and I'll be her last. Ethan? Then I know. You're the one who caused Grace's brother's death. Hearing his words, Ethan's hand trembled slightly. Grace quickly took his hand. Marcus, that was when I was younger, and I blamed Ethan for everything. He merely introduced Amber to my brother. It was Amber who caused my brother's death. Marcus looked at Grace in shock. Amber? You knew her before? 10 years ago, Grace's brother met Amber through Ethan and fell in love. But neither of them knew that Amber had a former mafia boyfriend in Canada, and she owed him a lot of money. When she realized she was being followed, she asked Grace's brother to escort her home. On the way home, her ex-boyfriend suddenly pulled out a knife and chased them. Amber rushed inside the door first, and locked Grace's brother out. Marcus looked incredulous. Are you saying Amber's ex-boyfriend was in the mafia back then? She locked your brother out, which led to... Grace gritted her teeth, her eyes filled with hatred. Yes. My brother was stabbed 20 times by her ex-boyfriend just like that. She was inside the door, listening, and it was the neighbor across the street who even called the police. By the time my brother was taken to the hospital, it was too late. I was devastated then. I thought if Ethan hadn't introduced my brother to Amber, my brother wouldn't have died. After a huge fight with Ethan, I cut off contact and returned to the country. Marcus's face was pale. I really didn't know any of this. You never told me you knew Amber. Grace sneered. Even if I had told you, you wouldn't have believed it. All right, our family has plans soon. You should leave now. Marcus, however, was still unwilling to give up. He took a step forward, his eyes filled with pain and struggle. Grace, I know I've made too many mistakes in the past, but I truly want to make amends. My relationship with Amber was also because Eleanor forced me. You know she has depression. Grace looked at Marcus as if he were an idiot. Depression? Eleanor doesn't have depression at all. Grace took out a report from her phone and waved it in front of Marcus. This is what I found out through someone I know. Eleanor doesn't have depression at all. Her so-called illness all this time was just a pretense to force you into submission. For so many years, you've been led by the nose by her, yet you never truly considered Grace's and Lily's feelings. Marcus's eyes widened, his face filled with disbelief. Impossible. How could Eleanor deceive me? Why would she do that? Why? It's all for the sake of carrying on the family line and ensuring someone inherits your family's enterprise. She doesn't care whether Grace or Lily live or die, nor does she care about Grace's feelings. And you, just like her, lost yourself under her influence. Grace said coldly, her disgust surging like a tide. Ethan drew Grace and Lily closer, his eyes filled with concern and protectiveness. Marcus, things have come to this. You have no relationship with Lily or GRA. CE anymore. Lily hid behind Daddy, whispering, Daddy, let's go. I don't want to see him. Daddy gently stroked Lily's head. All right, Lily. As Ethan and Lily were about to leave, Marcus completely panicked. Seeing this, Marcus abruptly rushed over, dropped to his knees with a thud, and pleaded tearfully, Grace, Lily, I know I was wrong. I was deluded. I'm sorry for what I did to you. Please, give me another chance. I promise I'll change. I'll treat you well and compensate you properly from now on. Lily trembled, startled by his sudden action, and clung tightly to Daddy's leg, her eyes filled with fear. Daddy held Lily even tighter, looking at Marcus with utter disgust. Get up. Don't make a scene here. Do you think you can fix everything now? It's too late. Grace suppressed the complex emotions in her heart, turned her head away from Marcus, and said coldly, Marcus, it's too late. Instead of clinging to us here, you should go back and check if Leo is actually your son. That mafia ex-boyfriend had naturally curly hair. Your son's hair. You. What did you say? Leo, he. Marcus's voice trembled, full of disbelief. Grace sneered, the disgust in her heart growing even stronger. What, you still don't believe it? Forget it, you can't reason with someone who refuses to see the truth. Marcus's face became extremely pale, alternating between green and white. His lips trembled, but he couldn't speak for a long time. After a long time, he seemed to find his voice, muttering, But we had a paternity test done. Humph, a paternity test? With money, what can't be faked? Grace glanced at him dismissively. For so many years, you've been kept completely in the dark, manipulated and played by her, foolishly giving her everything, even hurting Grace and Lily without hesitation. Marcus seemed to have all his strength drained away. He slowly collapsed onto the ground, his eyes vacant, continuously muttering, How could this be? How could this be? Daddy held Grace and Lily tightly, watching Marcus warily, afraid he might do something drastic. Marcus, it's time you woke up. Stop harassing Grace and Lily, you've caused them enough harm. Lily was in Daddy's arms, her little face still filled with fear. She whispered, Daddy, I'm scared. Daddy gently comforted her. Don't be scared, Lily. With Ethan here, no one will hurt you. Grace looked at the dejected Marcus on the ground, feeling no pity, only endless weariness and annoyance. Marcus, it's long over between us. Go back and really investigate what you've done all these years. Don't disturb our lives again, or I won't go easy on you. After saying that, Grace took Ethan and Lily and turned to leave. Marcus didn't try to stop them again. He just sat blankly on the ground, his eyes vacant as he watched them walk away. Back home, Lily's emotions were still a bit unstable. Daddy stayed with her, playing games and telling stories, and it was a struggle to finally bring a smile back to her face. Grace sat nearby, watching the father and daughter interact, her heart filled with mixed emotions. Grace had once hoped Marcus could genuinely cherish Lily like Daddy did, but in the end, her hopes were misplaced. Meanwhile, Marcus returned to the country in a daze. He seemed like a different man, no longer the spirited entrepreneur, but a shell of his former self. He began frantically investigating Amber and Leo, utilizing all his connections and resources. After a difficult investigation, all evidence pointed to a cruel truth: Leo was indeed not his biological son. Amber had been in contact with her former mafia boyfriend before getting involved with Marcus. Leo was their child. The so-called paternity test was merely a meticulously forged deception orchestrated by Amber, aiming to tightly control Marcus and acquire his wealth. Upon learning the truth, Marcus was overwhelmed by a mix of anger, regret, and pain. He returned home and looked at Amber, who was playing with Leo in the living room. His eyes filled with hatred. "Amber, you liar!" Marcus roared, rushed over, and shoved Amber to the ground. Amber was startled by the sudden turn of events, looking at Marcus in terror. "Marcus, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy?" Marcus pointed at her, trembling with rage. "How dare you ask what's wrong with me? Look at what you've done. Leo isn't my son at all. You've been lying to me all this time. For so many years, I've given you everything. Is this how you repay me?" Amber's face instantly went deathly pale. After a moment, she suddenly sneered, "Since you know, what's it to you? I've pretty much spent all the money you've given me over the years. What can you do to me?" Marcus looked at the strange and vile woman before him, a wave of desolation washing over him. You're simply unreasonable. I'm going to make you pay for what you've done." Amber, however, showed no fear. "Pay? What can you do to me? If you dare do anything to me, my boyfriend won't let you get away with it." Marcus at this point was consumed by rage, completely disregarding reason. "I'll fight you." With that, he lunged at Amber again. In the ensuing chaos, Leo burst into tears, and the entire household instantly plunged into disarray and despair. Amber was accidentally strangled to death by Marcus, and Marcus was imprisoned for the crime. Marcus's mother also tragically committed suicide. And all of this was the bitter fruit of Marcus's past absurdity and folly, which he now had to bear, this endless pain and torment. Grace and Ethan began a new and peaceful life with Lily. Ethan treated Lily as his own daughter. His gentleness and patience gradually helped Lily emerge from the shadows of the past.